Hello Internet, and today's video is going to be another book opinion. This time we're going to be talking about Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. And we're going to be talking about Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. This is a book about mermaids. But not a fun cute book about mermaids, not another mermaid, Little Mermaid retelling, no. No, we're finally doing something fun and interesting with mermaids. Now, this is by Seanan McGuire under the pen name Mira Grant. She has done several under the Mira Grant names. Usually they have to do with sort of like horror, biology sort of things, and Into the Drowning Deep is an extension, so to say, on a short story she did about mermaids, but now it's a full-length book. So this is about the discovery of mermaids and a group of scientists going out to try to see if they can prove whether or not mermaids are real based on some very, very concerning incidents that have happened in the past few years that they have recorded. So an entertainment studio a while back had lost a ship in the waters, and the film that they had recovered from that ship had some very disturbing content of mermaids coming onto the ship and murdering people and just chomping on their bodies. So now, in hopes of proving that mermaids exist or just trying to figure out what had happened all those years ago, that company is funding a new expedition out, and a part of the expedition, there is Lily right here. Okay, Lily, we're gonna just pet her while I talk. They're funding a new expedition, and on that expedition are a few key people. So mainly the whole book is just about scientists, and the discovery of mermaids, and sort of like a thriller atmosphere. I don't want to say so much horror, but more like thrillery. We trying to see whether or not we can survive the next mermaid attack. I want to say that this was Jaw-esque in the mermaid parts, where you're trying to figure out, okay, like, don't go here, the mermaids are gonna come and chomp on you. So basically just mermaids are the new sharks, and they're just hunting for their food, and the food happens to be humans because that's how the food chain works here. So this book follows a multitude of characters. A bunch of them are different scientists and things like that. One of the more distinct characters is one who we're introduced to, whose sister was a part of that old crew on the entertainment vessel that had gotten killed by mermaids, and who has spent her life since then trying to figure out what has happened to her sister, and also to prove that mermaids are real. And along the way we have different point of view, different characters who have gotten involved. We have deaf representation, a pair of sisters who speak through ASL, or just sign language in general. I think it's ASL, but it is just sign language, a version of it. And a bunch of different scientific stuff going on. I want to say a grand majority of this book is sort of science-based. I think it's like really approachable science, so like even if you're not into marine biology or just any other sort of sea science, or any of the other sciences depicted in this book, it is done in such a way that it is approachable. Again, I can't talk to the reliability, the reality of the science depicted, but I trust this author, so I believe she probably put a lot of research and time into making it as realistic as possible. Also, I don't know what other interests this author has. For all I know, she could be a marine biologist herself. I don't know. I didn't look it up. But I want to just say that there is a lot of science and stuff mentioned. That is a large chunk of the story. I do want to say it's told in a novel way, so it doesn't feel textbook when the scientists are being scientists. But if an abundance of science and like science-y sort of talk and way of relating things and that sort of thing isn't something that you think you would enjoy, you might not like most of this book, because there is just as much of that aspect to the book as there is running from mermaids trying to come and chomp you down. So like there are trade-offs there. So for some, I think they would find this book more boring because they wouldn't want to deal with all the science sort of stuff, that sort of thing. But overall, I do think it's a good book. I think this is the type of the book that I would really like to see as a movie. I think I heard a rumor that this might be getting a movie. I don't know, but I think it would be a really great movie to have like a Jaw-esque movie where the mermaids are like the monster of the week. Because I think she does some like really fascinating stuff when it comes to mermaids, when it comes to their biology, how they speak, what they're doing, why they're attacking people, like how they function and stuff, that really just ties in. So it feels like a sort of like science exploration about a creature, and that creature happens to be mermaids. Most of all, I was just really overall happy with this book because it took a different spin than we traditionally see with a creature that I really enjoy. So I like mermaids, but like a lot of, and I want more mermaid stories, but a lot of times they all tend to be just plain old Little Mermaid retellings, which I think are absolutely boring half the time. Like, I don't want to read the same fucking story. Also, like, is the human world that fucking great that every mermaid wants to be a human? Because I really don't think so. Like, it can't be that great that, like, the world under the sea can't be that great. I mean, did you not hear Sebastian when he was singing that life is great under the sea? Like, come on. Like, not every single mermaid or merman or merperson has to, like, hate under the sea. So I was, like, overjoyed with that aspect, that it wasn't focusing on, oh, mermaids want to be humans or shit. It was like, no, mermaids want to fucking eat humans because they're hungry and they need some sustenance. So I did like that aspect. I think this book is a great book. It was well told, well depicted, like it had great progression in it. The ending was satisfying for what the book was. So, like, not everyone survived, but characters that you really liked, so they probably came out of it. But some of them didn't. Like, there were great things. It progressed well. It did well. I think the major downfall is that it's going to be a love or hate for some people, is whether or not you will be able to stick through the sort of scientific-y mumbo-jumbo stuff that they do between the scientists when it isn't talking specifically about mermaids attacking different people. I think that will be a bore for some people, and some people are really going to love it, and that will just be part of the story for them. I do think that I might have disliked this book more for the sciencey stuff if I hadn't been reading it on audio. With the audiobook, it just seemed to flow, it seemed to work for me. But if like I was physically reading the book, I might have gotten really bored and thought of it as textbooky because of the focus on the scientists being scientists. Another few themes that I'm just going to mention casually just because they were there is that this does have female-female romance. As for like sexualities and stuff, I think they mentioned that like one of the main characters is bisexual. I think that she mentions that, like, she gives her specific name to her sexuality. But like overall there is a slight female-female romance. Again, it's not a big part of this book, but it does exist within this book. So if you want a book that shows that, if that is something that like you're trying to add to your collection, then I do want to mention that for you. Other than that, I think it was just a really good book. If you like thrillery stuff, if you like sort of monster of the week stuff, and if you like when they take time to like sort of sciencey talk about things, then you're probably going to like this book. I really think this would be a successful concept for a movie, so I would really like to see it as a movie, because I think this is like one of the perfect things. Like, get rid of the old rehashed, oh, sharks are evil movies. I mean, I love Jaws like everyone else, but like, let's do like killer monsters instead. I think that would be so much fun. It has like the same sort of concepts where like there's mermaids chomping on people instead of sharks. That same like love of gore. We can have like tons of people dying in like horrific ways. There are plenty of them depicted in this book, but it be mermaids instead. Because like I love Jaws. I love like all of these new ones. Sharknado, you know, I'm like here for it. But like let's replace it with mermaids instead. I think that would just be even better. I like this is one of the books that I'm like, oh my fucking god, why isn't this a movie? But that is it for this. I don't really have much to say about it. I think some people are really going to love it. I think some people are just really going to find it boring. I think those are really the two sides you stand on. I don't think there's any reason to really hate this book or anything really wrong with this book. I just don't think some people are going to like it because unless you're willing to sit through science-y stuff, and a lot of them, oh, like sonar, radar, how do we figure out how mermaids work, how they use our scientific methods because we're scientists. If you're not willing to sit through that, or you don't find enjoyment out of that sort of thing, then a large portions of this book is going to be boring to you. So that's all I can say, and it is a pretty decently long book. So like that's all I have to say there. You're either gonna love it or you're just gonna be like, oh my god, was that boring and there should have been more killer mermaids. Because I feel like the killer mermaid part was the best part. Like no lies, I love that part. I could have done less with sciencey stuff, but I didn't mind it to the point that it brought the rating down for me. It's just something that, once again, I think you need to be aware of, and that is why I am stressing this to you. So if you like what you're seeing here, you want to continue to see more, click all those bunnies down below, and goodbye.